Welcome back.
Whoa.
Just gotta introduce him like that.
Right.
Anyways, if you could,
myself?
just absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
My name's Jayda. I live in Blackburn, 4-2.
Why would you have? I'll cut that out. Good to know. All right. How would you define self-worth? Just to get a baseline.
Self-worth. I think it's a very simple concept. I think self-worth is how much you value yourself, and that can be a lot or it can be a little bit. So you can have like low self-worth, you can have like mediocre self-worth, or you can have high self-worth. It just depends on, I think, like I said, how much you value yourself and like how you rank and like prioritize yourself in comparison to other people and other things in your life.
Valid.
Yep.
So my first question is how much should we work on the self before identity is ingenuine?
Before it's ingenuine?
Is there a point where it becomes ingenuine?
I personally don't think that it can become ingenuine. I don't know.
Why is that?
What was the question? How much
there,
can
like,
you
a
work on
point
yourself?
Before it becomes ingenuine.
That's really interesting. Okay, I think that it can become like to the point where you're very like self-absorbed. Okay, I understand the question now. I think that you should always put yourself before other people personally. I think that a lot of times people who have low self-worth, they just are always like valuing and putting the needs of other people before themselves. And I don't think that's a good thing. But I guess I do think that it can go a little bit too far to where you become like self-absorbed and like everything is about me. You know what I mean? And it's to the point where it's not even like self-love. It's just like, I don't know. It's like superficial. So I think once you get to that point where it's like you feel like you're better than everyone and, you know, something like that, then maybe that's where it becomes ingenuine.
Ingenuine to those around you or to yourself?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think in situations like that, to you it might not seem ingenuine, but to everyone else it does. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was a good answer.
Do you think you can point out like whether or not someone's ingenuine if you like don't know the full context of their life? Like, could someone just walk up to you, meet them for the first day, and you're like, that's a fake person?
No.
No?
I think you can definitely like get vibes from people when you first meet them, and I feel like I might have like said something like this before, but like I think like first impressions are everything. But I also feel like to truly know if someone is being fake or not or being ingenuine, you have to know like their backstory and like their intentions and their motives to truly be able to like call out, oh, that's fake. You know what I mean? So I think you kind of have to know someone. It can't just be like a first impression type thing.
I don't know. That's a good point. Like, I feel like you need to know very little, but you need to know something.
Right. I agree with that.
Like, there's definitely people I've met in college that, like, I met for the first time, and then, like, one experience, or one, like, the second time I see them, it's just an entirely different person. I really saw, like, when you meet people for, like, the first day, and they haven't really established who they are in college yet, so they're, like, pretty, I don't know,
just
fake,
like broad,
like fake nice and connecting with everyone, and then a week later, entirely different.
Yep.
How do you think college impacts people's self-worth?
I think it can be different for everyone. I think that I feel like it can go either way, because I think in college you interact with a lot more people who know who they are than possibly you knew when you were in high school. And I think that can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. I think that sometimes people can look at that and then they'll think like, oh, she has her life all together, and then it might make you feel a certain type of way. And then I think that could like negatively impact people's perception of their own self-worth. And it can make people feel like they're not doing enough or they're doing too much or too little, you know what I mean? But I think it could also go the other way around where, you know, being around so many people who have like established goals for themselves and they kind of have an idea of who they are and who they want to be, I think that can push you to figure out who you are.
In saying that, I'm a little bit like skeptical because I don't know whether or not comparison has a role in like establishing self-worth. So like that goes both ways though, like whether or not deriving your self-worth from like your inferiority to others, whether or not that's valid, or whether or not like your superiority would be like justification for like you having a high self-esteem and self-worth. Because like a friend of mine mentioned that the other day, that they disliked when somebody thought they were better than everyone else, but that was like their whole idea of their worth, like I'm smarter than everyone, so like, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it kind of goes back to the other question. I don't remember specifically what it is or what it was, but like, if it's like it might be ingenuine to you or to other people but not to you. I think that is very true, and I think that sometimes you loving yourself or having standards for yourself, a lot of times it can come off as fake, or like you thinking that you're better than everyone else to other people. I think that is a really real concept. But I think that once other people kind of start to find that for themselves and find those like standards and those goals within themselves, you start to kind of understand more that it's not necessarily that other people think that they're better than you. It's just that they know what they want and they have a standard for their life and the people that they want to allow into their life. And so then I think that once you find that within yourself, it becomes a lot easier to understand, like, oh, they don't think they're better than me. They just want more for themselves.
I don't want to cough, but I don't even have to cough.
You can cough.
Anyways, so with like people with low, so do you think self-worth has nothing to do with like comparison? Or do you feel like, because I feel like a lot of times in society today, a lot of people derive their own self-worth from other people rather than themselves.
I think that comparison can play a role in your self-worth. I don't think that it should, but I do also think, kind of like how I was saying earlier, that you can kind of like see or just like feel the vibes of someone who kind of has a high self-worth and want that for yourself. And I think it's not necessarily in that context a comparison. It's just a like, oh, I like that, I'm attracted to that, I want to be like that for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like seeing successful people and saying I want to
right,
be
and
successful.
then wanting to be like that as well. Yeah, so I don't think that it should necessarily be like a constant comparison, because then I think that becomes unhealthy when you're like constantly comparing yourself to other people, especially when you're talking about self-worth and like going through that journey personally. Like, I think that it should be for you and not you looking at what you should be in comparison to other people. But I do think that it can kind of help to like have people around you who kind of know who they are and have high self-worth.
Do people with high self-worth, do you feel like they act a certain way, or do you feel like someone could, like, in your eyes, be someone who like has really low standards but still has high self-worth?
I was with you like for the first half of the question, but then I also feel like having high standards goes along with having a high self-worth. You know what I mean? Like, when you value yourself enough, you're not going to allow people to make you feel a certain way. You're not going to allow people to come in your life and disrupt it because you value yourself and your own peace. And so I think that that can't really coexist, having low standards and having a high self-worth, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure, because like if we're instantiating that self-worth comes from this specific person, then I guess it's their own like internal thing, because like it's also like a matter of perspective, I feel, because if someone's in like really harsh conditions, they grow up in a certain environment, then they get used to that, and they like become okay with it and take somewhat of a pride in it, like, because it's like pride in yourself, like I'm not gonna beat up on myself for these circumstances, and then they move into an environment where everyone else is kind of used to a different thing. Is their self-worth still like valid, or do you feel like that's when comparison comes into play with self?
I don't know. Okay, so coming into this, I have very like particular feelings on self-worth. I feel like I'm a person that has very high self-worth, and I feel like the goals and the standards that I have for myself is like what in my mind is like ideal self-worth, but then kind of going on what you say, I feel like it's different for everyone. And so I guess you can't really like judge what a person chooses to do for themselves and say like, oh, maybe they don't value themselves as much, because you really don't know what's going on in their mind and what their story is, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I guess let me calm down just a little bit.
I mean, no, what you're saying is totally valid. I'm just
no,
I just like playing like devil's advocate.
Yeah, I think
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. I think that maybe your standards have nothing to do with your self-worth, you know? Dang, that's crazy. Very interesting.
Because some people do like nasty conditions. Some people are okay with that.
Right.
But it's like being okay like the same as like having self-worth. Because like for something to have worth, you have to think highly of it.
Right.
And if they have like any perception of like society, so I think that's where comparison comes into play. Not necessarily other people, but like ranking within society. Like how would somebody who values himself act in a certain circumstance?
Right.
I can see that. But I think comparison with other people, that's where it falls off, and you're not really able to create a distinction between what's genuine and what's not.
Right.
So I have another question. Is self-worth something we have or something we do?
I think it can go both ways. I think that you can... I don't know. I think that it can be something... If you're someone who has high self-worth, you're going to have it, right? But if you're someone who doesn't, you might not be there all the way. I think that it's something that can come and go in your life, depending on the situation. You know what I mean? So, like, you might go through a situation and, like, allow people to, like, walk over you or something like that in one instance, but then you might have the courage to stand up for yourself in the next. And that's having a high self-worth, I feel like, valuing yourself. But then in other situations, maybe you don't feel comfortable, like, saying something, or you're just not at that level in your own personal journey yet to feel comfortable with saying something or standing up for yourself. And so I think that it's just something that comes and goes. I think that if you have high self-worth, like, that is something that is a part of you and a part of, like, who you are as a person. But then I think if you're still growing in that, then it's something that you can just do, and it can just come and go as you're learning to live that lifestyle.
So are you saying, like, there's a peak, like there's a maximum to how you can self-worth?
I guess, but I feel like it's not really, like, quantifiable. I feel like it's more, like, personal. You know what I mean? Like, it's your own personal journey. And I feel like a lot of, like, mental and even, like, when you're talking about, like, spiritual journeys, like, it is your journey. And I think that you can't really rely on other people to, like, say, like, oh, yeah, you've reached a high self-worth now, or you've reached this, you've reached that. Like, you kind of have to just figure it out and, like, know within yourself. You know what I mean? I don't even know where I was going with this point. But, like, like, I don't know. I feel like... What was the question? What am I talking about?
Everyone's own journey.
It's your journey, you know what I mean? And so I think that like no one can tell you when you've reached self-worth, and so saying that, I don't think that meeting like the peak of self-worth, I don't think it's something that you and I can like quantify. I think that I can like put a value on it for myself, and I feel like you can put a value on it for your own self, but I don't think that like it's something that anybody else can attach to you. If that makes sense.
With while you're changing, like, and you're still like working on self-worth, how much of that is like, because sometimes I feel like when we think we're changing, we think that there's something wrong with us. So like, if that's like the the thought process in many people's heads, then is that like saying that when people are working on self-worth that they have none, or they have low self-worth, or like, what is it? Posit.
I feel like it might be different for everyone. I don't think that it necessarily, you know what? No, I don't think it means that you have none, because I think for you to be able to, it's like the whole like, in order for you to like work through a problem, the first step is like identifying that you have a problem type thing. Like, in order for you to understand that you need to grow in your self-worth journey, you have to kind of already have that within yourself. And I think you kind of have to get to a point where you're like fed up, I guess, of like experiencing different things or allowing people to treat you a certain way or talk to you a certain way. And so I think getting to that point, realizing that you're at that point and wanting to do something to change it, I think that there is self-worth like hidden in that.
And how do you work on self-worth?
Personally, I honestly don't know, to be honest with you. I feel like I grew up in a family where like self-worth was always like, it was always like expected, you know what I mean? Like I never grew up like thinking that I wasn't smart or I wasn't pretty or like I wasn't good enough or anything like that. And so I feel like for me, it's just always like remembering how I grew up and then like looking at kind of like a comparison type thing, but like looking at other people and like other people's issues and like realizing, okay, that I wasn't raised to not like the way that I look. I wasn't raised to call myself stupid. So like you guys might be doing that, but I'm not going to allow myself to like fall into that trap. And so I think for me, it's not necessarily like working on self-worth all the time. It's more of just like trying to uphold the way that I was raised.
And for like people who weren't necessarily raised in an environment that enforced self-worth, where do you think they get the foundation to start building their own?
That's a very good question. Honestly, I really don't know the answer to it. But I think it comes with anything. Like whether you were raised a certain way or not, I think you get to a certain age where you kind of have to want to gain that knowledge for your own self. And even the things that you were raised with, I think that it's important to kind of grow up and like question whether or not it was right or not. And so I think that if you weren't raised in a household where self-worth was valued, I think that, I don't know, you just get to a certain age where you should kind of start like exploring that and exploring different like aspects of self-worth and what it means to love yourself truly. And what it means to love yourself like in comparison to like other people and like how you allow other people to treat yourself, how you allow different people into your life and like certain relationships that you have. I don't know, I think it's just like it's like learning, just growing up and wanting to know more and wanting more for yourself.
I agree. I can attest to that statement. Not that my like self-worth was low coming into college, because it's not. But like there's a certain point I think in everyone's life where you start like asking yourself, could I be better than what I am now?
Yeah.
And I think in saying that, it like but it's also like tragic, because like even now, like it takes like sometimes mental effort to catch some of your like old habits that maybe were like draining your self-worth or your own image of yourself, and that kind of stuff I feel like is like it's so engraved into your head. It takes like so much conscious determination to get rid of it. And I feel like the West Coast like faux rad dogma of like working on yourself and self-love, I feel like it's definitely like a like an ideal thing rather than something people actually strive for. And I think that's the main issue with like that healing culture, is the fact that people like apply it, but they think just because they did a certain thing that they're a healed person. So
I agree with that. I think it's a journey, it's a process, just like healing. I think that it's not something that you just like wake up and have. And I think that, like you're saying, even with like unlearning different habits, it's like a conscious effort. Every day you kind of have to like wake up and choose to love yourself and to like hold yourself and everyone that you allow into your life to a certain standard. And yeah, I think it's a very deliberate choice that you have to wake up and make.
I'm dying.
It's alright.
What was that? Are you mocking my cough?
A little bit.
Very funny. Very funny. Okay. How do we decide if our own thoughts are valid, or is even if they are valid to ourselves, like is being valid to yourself enough to like have these concrete statements about the world?
Dang. That's a really good question. I personally, and maybe other people feel differently, I feel like you can't always believe every little thought that comes into your mind, because I don't know, you just can't. And so I think that to truly, maybe not even like know if it's valid or not, but to just kind of compare and contrast like what you're thinking in comparison to what other people are around you, I think that it's important to like just talk to people and to just discuss like the things that are coming into your mind, the thoughts that you're having. And in that you can, you know, find out that maybe your thoughts or your feelings or your opinions are valid, or maybe they're not, or maybe like part of it was, and then you listen to somebody else's like lived experience and that kind of shapes the way you were thinking. But I feel like conversation is very important in that.
I think conversation with yourself is also important,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like we too often identify with our thoughts rather than ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I think that, like I used to think that our thoughts are really reflective of who we are as a person, but I'm starting to realize that our thoughts like have nothing to do with who we are. I think that the mind is like more so a tool that we're supposed to use to like problem solve rather than something that should seek problems within ourselves. And I also think that's because of the like somewhat like peaceful environment that we're in, because like in a time of peace the militant man will attack himself, because I feel like we're all like problem solving, and when we don't have like a large external thing to kind of target, we have to target ourselves. And I think that's kind of how consciousness developed initially, because it went from like worrying about surviving to worrying about who we are.
I agree with that 100%.
Do you think we should worry about who we are?
Worry? No. But like, should you ponder it? Should you profoundly ponder who you are?
Oh Lord.
100%. You should profoundly ponder it.
Profoundly ponder it.
Profoundly ponder who you are. And I think that who you are, like, it's something that changes like with time, and your identities and your values and your opinions, I think, grow and change as you get older. But I think that you should what was the word that you used? Because I just keep thinking of the word ponder. Or is ponder what you used?
Did I say ponder?
I don't know what you said, but you should ponder it. You should ponder who you are. And I think that to be honest, like the most important aspect of that is yourself. Like when you're pondering or thinking is a good word. Thinking about who you are, like you should maybe like discuss it with people around you, like people that you trust, not just any like random person. But I think that in that too, the most important person is yourself, because like if you don't like the person that you are and you don't like the way that you are, then like what's the point?
Valid. Something I've been doing, because my brain works weird. Like, I don't know when this will up, but like sometimes when I think, it's like overly analytical, and other times it's like separated into like overly emotional. And sometimes I have to try to balance out like which is right for the situation.
Right.
And like when I'm getting too far into my head, I start to like it gets really repetitive, and you sometimes try to like fight out the thought. I think that's why overthought happens so much, because we sit there rather than occupy ourselves. We start to address the thought and treat it as if it's a reality rather than just a fleeting thought. So we like sit there, we keep compounding upon it and kind of engraving it into our head.
Yeah.
And what I've started doing now is like whenever I start overthinking, I just occupy myself with something. I don't know what it could be. Like I'll either just like start meditating, or like you can really do almost anything as long as you like distract yourself from the thought, because like this is reality.
Right.
And a lot of times with like self-esteem issues and stuff, like and self-worth issues, it's because we're not taking the time to look at a greater scheme of things.
Yeah.
I feel, because like where did these negative thoughts like really come from?
Right.
Like where are you getting this comparison? Like where are the grounds for comparison within any two people? I don't think any two people can be compared like on a worth or like self level. I think you can only be compared on like what you do, but not who you are.
Yeah. I think that's very important, because I don't know, it like goes back to what I was saying earlier, like not every thought that comes into your mind is true, and you can't allow your mind to run you and run the way that you live your life. And it's important to get control of your thoughts, because your thoughts become the things that you say, and then the things that you say become your reality around you. And so I think that that's very important.
How do you heal the self?
I think that it's different for everyone. And I think that it kind of just depends on like
what you're healing from.
Right, what you're healing from, like what was the trauma, or maybe it wasn't even trauma, but like why are you healing? I think that it really just depends person to person, and I think that, you know, if it's like something that you missed out on when you were a kid, then maybe that healing is like allowing yourself to do it now, or like, you know, something like that. Like it can be very, very like tangible things, like just allowing yourself to like treat yourself and like go out and buy something that you want, or it can just be like allowing yourself to just like sit back and relax and like just live, you know?
Just live.
Just live, like just for like 30 minutes. Just sit and live.
So you feel like sometimes we're not living?
Yeah. I think whenever you get like too busy to where you're like just allowing the day to go past, you know, and like there will be times like where I'm just sitting in the library or something like that doing my work, and then it's like the sun is up, next thing you know the sun is down, and it's like where did all that time go? You know what I mean? Like it feels like a fever dream. Like was I living? Am I alive?
I can attest to that. Like I started waking up early to work out, because like I feel like exercise is so much easier in the morning.
Yep.
Especially
sure.
Like I went at 6 today, and it was like empty.
Yep.
So I used every machine that I wanted. And I got my workout done in like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yep.
I feel like that's a lot better, but then I take a nap for like 30 minutes, because I think that's like the most efficient nap you can have without like being tired after.
20 to 30.
Then I went to econ, and that already felt like 2 different days.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know if that's a good thing, because I feel like I'm being a lot more productive, but I feel like I'm losing like, I feel like it's a lot of conscious effort in going through my day-to-day. But I think that's also a good thing, because I feel like you can't really relax unless you've actually been doing something.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think it depends on who you are as a person, too. Like, I think I feel most fulfilled with my day when I do a lot of things, and so because of that, I wake up really early. And I make sure that, like, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, like, I'm doing something productive. And so, I don't know, I just think it just kind of depends, but I agree. If you're not doing anything, you don't need to be relaxing.
I don't think...
But I also, you know what, I also think, and this is kind of going off on a tangent, but I think that it kind of, like, depends on who you are as a person, too, because the other day, I don't even know if you were in there or not, but this girl came into the common area, and she was like, I'm having a really bad mental health day, but I have this assignment that I need to do, and I don't know if I should do the assignment or if I should go to a basketball game. And I was like, well, it just kind of depends on who you are as a person. Like, will going to the basketball game and hanging out with your friends or not going to the basketball game and hanging out with your friends affect your mental health more than not doing homework? And it just kind of depends on who you are, because personally, like, I can, like, not see my friends, like, for however long I need to. As long as I get, like, the A on the assignment, like, I'm good. My mental health is good. Like, I'll see y'all later.
Me personally, I
used
to...
but different people are different. Like,
because I'll do work, but, like, I think I have a great work ethic. So if I ever get to the point where I don't feel like doing work, I know that I probably shouldn't be doing work.
Interesting.
That's how I just trust my judgment in that. And I feel like it's a good thing to have. Not because, like... But it's as long as it doesn't happen often. Because it doesn't happen often. But, like, if I ever feel like I'm not going to class, like, I need to sit down, then I won't.
I'm the exact opposite. I've only ever missed one class, and it's because I threw up at 5 a.m. and I have class at 8. My mom told me not to go to
That's
class.
disgusting.
It was in my dorm. You should cut this out. Or maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. It was in my dorm. And Liz was, like, literally in the bed. And I was throwing up at the trash can. And she's like, are you okay? And I was like...
She's like, are you okay, girl?
Like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
You was not okay.
I was not okay. Then I went downstairs. I sat in the lobby. And I cried.
Why'd you sit in the lobby?
Because I had to go downstairs to throw away the I had to take the plastic trash bag downstairs to throw it away.
What did you throw away? In the trash room?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say. I thought you put in, like, the common trash cans out there, like the study tables. Either way, that's actually atrocious. Why didn't you go to, like, the bathroom across the hall?
I couldn't make it. Like, I would have if I could have. But also just the thought of bending over a public
you use
toilet. Them. Yeah, but, like...
Your mouth.
Yeah, my face, like, in the toilet.
I don't know about you. I'm going to throw up in the toilet.
If I'm at home, I will, but...
But not here?
I mean, if I make it there, I will, but...
You think that has to do with self-worth?
For sure. And I guess it just depends on what you value about yourself. Like, I value, like, I don't know. And it's not even, like, valuing yourself enough to not throw up in the toilet. It just depends on, like, what you value. You know what I mean? And for me personally, like, I'm not going to throw up in a public toilet. But maybe that's not something that you value. Or maybe that is what you value. Throwing up in the public toilet is self-worth.
I'm going to throw up in a public toilet. I'm going to throw up when I need to throw up.
No. I hate throwing up.
I don't like throwing up either.
I hate it. That's why
it's
I cry.
repulsive.
I cry after every time I
throw up. Laying on your back helps. Like, but only if, like, the floor, like, my bathroom floor at home is, like, cold.
Right.
And it's a hard floor.
Right.
So I used to sit there, like, shirtless back on the floor, cold floor.
Yep.
And I just wouldn't throw up.
Yeah.
For some reason.
That's facts.
And also when I had, like, a bad stomachache or something. I don't know. Floors are so, like, I gravitate towards floors for some reason.
For sure. And I would lay on my dorm floor, but I'm not going to lay on the bathroom floor, the public bathroom floor. But you also have a bathroom, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. That's not a public bathroom.
I mean, like, at home, not here.
Oh,
yeah. I would not lay on the floor in there.
Okay.
I would already floor in.
All right. Yeah. If I'm at home, I'm going
low.
Straight in the toilet, for sure.
We did get off topic, remember?
We did.
Hold on, brother.
We did.
In what ways does self-confidence connect with self-worth?
Self-confidence. confidence and self-worth. I feel like it's a direct correlation.
You think so?
I feel like, or maybe that's just my experience. I think that whenever you feel a certain type of way about yourself, then that just kind of like comes out. You know what I mean? And it comes out in like the way that you act, the way that you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress. And so I think that whenever you like hold yourself to a certain standard, and whenever you feel a certain type of way about yourself, whenever you have that high self-worth, I think that confidence just kind of comes with it. And I think maybe it's not like always very like tangible confidence, and like where people can like look at you and automatically be like, oh yeah, like they're confident, but like I think it's there though. I think it's always there with self-worth.
So do you feel like they're mutually exclusive? Or wait, they can't be mutually exclusive? They have to be like put together? Can you have like a lot of self-confidence without having a lot of self-worth?
I think so, but I feel like it's more like superficial, because I feel like people can like act confident and like more of a fake it till you make it type thing, where they like act like they're confident but they're truly not, but it still like seems like confidence. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a high self-worth. I don't know. Some people are just like outspoken, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not even necessarily real confidence. It's just people perceive it as confidence.
Whether you're like introverted or extroverted?
Yeah, I guess it kind of plays into that, but I think it's more so just like how like well-spoken isn't really the right word, but like how you carry yourself or something like that. I don't know.
How you carry yourself? I don't know. I used to get really anxious when speaking. I don't know what changed. Because, like, I thought it was still that way. And then I had a presentation the other day.
Yesterday.
And I just started doing it. And then I was like, why am I not anxious? And then I realized I don't care. I feel like confidence is a matter of, like, perspective on the outside world. And if you realize that it has no value, then you yourself can act within it. But I feel like self-worth is like internal perception. So
I
feel
100%
like that's the
agree
opposite.
with that.
That's crazy.
I think I do. I feel like I agree with that. I think confidence is definitely more of your perspective on other people for sure, and like more so of like you just don't care like what other people think. But I think self-worth is more of you caring about what you think about yourself.
Exactly.
Period.
Indeed. That was perfect. You see that? The trend?
What?
The trend. The dance.
What is that? Wiping the sweat? I've never seen
You ain't
that.
seen the dude, bruh? I don't want to have to show you.
This?
Sort of. You want me to show you?
Sure.
Okay. My brother just left Cincinnati.
Interessante.
He's picking me up.
Oh. Fun. Everyone is leaving. Like the amount of people that I saw with suitcases on the walk over here was actually insane. Today. Like there's a lot of people going home this weekend.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know. It's very interesting because Thanksgiving is in like
Where's this?
2 weeks.
I know. Isn't it like next week? No.
The week after.
So why am I leaving?
Thanksgiving is my least favorite holiday.
Because of the historical background?
No, but now that you say that, I guess that does play a role in it.
So what was it?
Thanksgiving was always just very underwhelming. Like, I don't know. Both my parents come from, I don't know why I'm like talking. Are you going to cut this out? Or should I speak to the people?
What do you want? It's on you.
I guess this doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I'll speak as if it's going to be put into the video. So, both my parents come from very large families.
Sure.
My dad is the youngest of 6, and my mom is the middle of 4, but she has, like, a ton of cousins, and, like, all my parents have just huge families. But we grew up military, so we never lived around them. And they, like, never came to visit us or anything like that, really. And so Thanksgiving was always just, like, literally, like, a regular family dinner for us, but just, like, with more food. And, like, I think, like, it was fine until I was probably in, like, 2nd grade or something like that. And then I just kind of, like, realized, like, this isn't normal. Like, everyone else in our family is, like, spending Thanksgiving together, and we're here, like, having dinner at our, like, regular dinner table with just us, you know? So ever since then, I'm like, this is, like, kind of sucks. But the food still hits.
Oh my God, I definitely have clothes in the wash. I don't know what to do.
Go put them in the dryer.
Right now?
If you need to. Do what you need to do.
Are you going to entertain the crowd?
I will. What should I talk about? I'll find something to talk about.
Give your full
Okay. Hello, people. I'm going to give you guys a rundown of my life and who I am. So, my name is Jayda Siobhan Williams. I'm the middle child. I have an older sister. Her name is Iman Williams, and she is low-key, like, my best friend that I've ever had in my entire life. And I have a little brother named Robert, and he's whatever. My sister is 20 years old, and she goes to Howard University, and my brother is 15, and he is a freshman in high school at Muscuda High School in Muscuda, Illinois. And I have a mom and I have a dad, and my mom's name is Keena Williams, and my dad's name is Rob Williams. Well, his real name is Robin, and that's like a whole nother story, but his name is Robin, and he goes by Rob. And both of my parents were in the military, in the Air Force, the best branch of the military. If you're going to join the military, go to the Air Force for sure. Like, get that money, get that check, you know what I'm saying. And they're both retired, but they both still work for the government. Yeah, so my major is biology. Pre-med, of course, because, like, why would you ever major in biology and not be pre-med unless you're going to be, like, a biology teacher, and I don't know why you would want to do that. The goal is to go to med school. I don't know where I'm going to go to med school, but I low-key don't want to go to Ohio State University med school because I feel like by the time I leave for undergrad or graduate for undergrad, I'm going to be tired of Ohio, and I'm going to want something new, you know, something different. Something fun, something fresh, you know, just switch it up a little bit. But I want to be a dermatologist, and, like, y'all see the skin. Oh, shoot, like, y'all see the skin. And so that's the goal. I'm going to be a dermatologist, and y'all just hit me up, like, let me know, like, whatever skin issues you're having, like, I can fix them. But I don't want to be, like, Dr. Pimple Popper. I want to be, like, I want to work on, like, skin cancer and stuff like that. Specifically, black people. Listen. This is what we're going to talk about. Sunscreen. Y'all need to make sure that you're wearing sunscreen. Because black people, I don't know the statistic for real, but we be dying from skin cancer more than white people. Because they have brainwashed us into thinking that we don't need sunscreen when we do. Now, of course, melanin, it will, like, naturally protect you from the sun, like, a little bit more than people who are palm colored, but, like, to an extent, you know what I mean? So you need to make sure that you're putting on sunscreen, not just on your face, but also on your body, okay? Make sure you're putting it on every day. Every day when I wake up, I check the UV. If the UV is, like, under 5 or 4 or 5, I think, you can wear, like, SPF 30, but if it's, like, over 5, you need an SPF 45, right? So make sure you wear your sunscreen. Black Girl sunscreen is what I use. They have a cream one, and they also have a gel matte one, and they're both 10 out of 10. Would definitely recommend. Yeah, but make sure that you're wearing sunscreen because, like, black don't crack. Like, it already don't crack, but, like, literally, I'm going to be 60 years old, and I'm going to look exactly like this because not only does it not crack, but I also wear sunscreen. So, like, like, this is the face that y'all are going to be seeing for, like, the next 50 years. Like, I don't even know what else to tell you. But, yeah, that's my little spiel. Ian went to go put his clothes in the dryer. And I don't know how much longer he's going to take. But, you know, we're profoundly pondering on self-worth. And, you know, I'm definitely the best person to talk to on this because literally no one in the entire world loves themselves more than I love me. And it's not even like a self-absorbed cockiness type thing. It's just a like everyone needs to love themselves. You know what I mean? Like, because, like, if you don't love you, who will? Like, if you don't like the way that you look, who will? Like, you can't always be looking outside and looking at other people for validation or for whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta find that within yourself, and once you find it within yourself, you'll be truly happy. So, yeah, that's literally it. That's all I have to say. I don't know what else to talk about. I was born in Idaho, which is very interesting. My parents always joke around and say that when we left Idaho, are you back?
Were you still talking?
Yes, I was talking. I was on to the next topic. I talked about my family,
right.
And then I talked about self-worth. No, I talked about skincare. I talked about, you know, dermatologists and how black people need to wear sunscreen.
Just make a YouTube channel?
Because I don't need to do all that. I don't need to do all that. And I was getting ready to talk about how I was born in Idaho.
Do you want all this in here or no?
You can keep it or whatever you want.
Let me know.
I don't even care.
You don't?
Do not care. You can put it at the beginning, little intro. Little who is Jayda?
Who is Jayda?
Who is Jayda? Who is Jayda? The only person that truly knows is me.
Do you know?
I know.
Who are you?
I'm Jayda. I am Jayda.
Do you know who you are right now or who you are in general? What do you mean by who you are? Like how you act in certain situations?
I don't think it's who you act. Or how you act. I think it's. I don't know. What does it mean to know who you are?
I don't know myself.
I think I know myself, but like now that I'm being asked, like I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Don't go into like an existential crisis.
I know. I won't. It's okay. I don't know though. I don't know.
Yourself can just be Jayda.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm me.
Because that's like the best definition. When I was skateboarding earlier today, I was like, I'm the best Ian out.
Right. Literally. Simple as that.
The best Ian.
Best Jayda. Best Jayda.
No one can do me better than me.
No one can.
Indeed.
Y'all thought you were me? You're not.
I thought they were you.
They thought.
Who?
They.
They?
No, just kidding. Y'all can be you. I'm gonna be me. That's all you can be is yourself. Like, that's why it's so important to love yourself, because you can't just change it. And even if you like try to change it, like at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to like come to terms with you being you. Like, you were born you, you're gonna die you. So like at some point you're gonna have to figure it out.
True. So do you feel like, because people change themselves, but do you feel like once people change themselves physically,
like the way you look, like the way you dress?
You know, like, yeah, the way you look, but not how you dress. Like, what if somebody
like plastic surgery, stuff like that?
Yeah, like surgeries to make yourself different.
This is a whole nother conversation.
It ties into self-worth.
It really does. And I have my, like, opinions on it. And I feel like when I hear, like, the opposite side, it kind of makes sense. But I feel strongly that you can't, like, change the way you look outwardly, like, whether that's, like, plastic surgery or, like, fillers, like, lip fillers, stuff like that. I feel like you can't change the way that you look and still claim to have, like, a high self-worth, because, like, you've now changed yourself. Like, you're not you. But then also, like whenever people argue against that, I feel like they're saying, like, oh, well, they did it for themselves. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess that makes sense. But still, like, I don't know. I feel like a huge part of self-worth and self-love is loving yourself for who you are and the way that you were made, and not wanting to change yourself to fit trends or to like make other people think a certain way about you. And I think that it all goes back into like the whole comparison conversation. I think that if you're not comparing yourself to other people, then you won't want to change the way that you look outwardly, like in terms of the way that your body is or the way your face is or things of that nature, you know what I mean? And so I think that if you truly love yourself and if you're not comparing yourself to other people, then you won't feel the need to change your outward appearance, you know, aside from the way you dress, because that can kind of change, I guess.
But we still change our internal appearances.
Like how you think?
Yeah, like how you view yourself.
How you view yourself?
Indeed.
I don't know. I feel like how you view yourself, I think it definitely does like fluctuate, but I feel like once you reach a point of like what you deem to be like your peak of self-worth, then that view of yourself is always going to kind of be there, and it's always going to be positive. You know what I mean? And I think that like maybe you might have days where it's, you know, a little bit like you're never going to be like at 100% mentally like every single day, but I think that you're always going to kind of have that like, I don't know, that positive view of who you are inwardly, you know, and outwardly. And I think that with that too, like allowing yourself to grow and change mentally and like the things that you believe in, I think that is kind of like a part of self-worth as well. Like allowing yourself to have room to like grow.
I think so too. It's he who thinks the journey is over that's truly lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Period.
Definitely. What was I about to say? Something a lot more profound. Yeah, like I said, like I think the self should be really adaptable in order to like affirm that you truly mess with yourself, because the second you put yourself in a box, that's the second you predispose yourself to like disliking certain aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
The second you think you're not able to change is the second that you like compound upon these negative aspects of yourself or what you perceive to be negative.
Yeah. That's why I think it's very important to just love you for you. Like what you were saying earlier, like you're Ian, like I'm Jayda, I'm the best Jayda Siobhan Williams there is, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, and not always grasping onto I don't know. I think it's important to like different things about yourself, but don't always grasp onto those like tangible things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just allow like
what's tangible?
Like I like my hair. I like the way that I dress, you know, something like that. You know what I mean? Because stuff like that can always change.
Sure. But
you just need to always be content with who you are as a whole. And I don't think
internally.
Yeah, internally, and I don't think it should always be like a look in the mirror type thing. Like that definitely is part of it, but I don't think that should be all of it. Look inwardly.
How do you look inwardly?
I don't know. It's all about self-reflection.
I think most people aren't actually like self-aware. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Because I feel like consciousness allows you to have like some common sense. Because some things just make sense more when you're like aware of yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that. I thought common sense isn't even common. That's not a common thing.
That's true, and it's a shame.
It is.
It's a shame.
So how do we combat that?
How do we combat?
You feel like consciousness is something that can be taught?
Consciousness? Yes.
Like you can teach yourself how to be conscious?
I think you can, but what was I getting ready to say? Oh, I think that it's something that, like, you have to be willing to do. Because even, like, with the whole common sense thing, I think a lot of times people who lack that, like, are content in their ignorance. And I don't think that you can, like, look at someone like that and, like, try to educate them all the time and then, like, think that they're going to, like, receive all of that you're giving them. You know what I mean? Because if they're not open to receiving that information, then they're not going to retain it. And so I think that in order to teach yourself to be conscious and, like, more cognizant of who you are and, like, the world around you, you have to be the one that's willing to do that.
Valid. So healing, you have to actually want to heal.
Yep.
Do you think we can heal in the same environment that made us sick?
I was going to say no, but I think that maybe sometimes for people, like, they kind of have to. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not able to get yourself out of that situation, but I don't know. I think that it might be a little bit more difficult, especially, like, if you're, like, healing from a particular situation and then, like, you're constantly, like, reminded of that by your environment or by the people that you're around, like, if you can't get away from that. But I do think that it's possible, but I feel like it might be a little bit difficult. But maybe stronger healing comes from that, because you also don't want to be, like, running away from your problems, you know? And, like, putting yourself into a whole new environment and thinking that everything is fixed.
Well, something I have been questioning with myself recently was, like, when do you decide to, like, neglect an issue or, like, actively go towards it? Like, when is the issue, like, oh, that's whatever, I'm gonna sweat it off, or when do you, like, focus on it?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. I feel like maybe it's just one of those things that you know in the moment. You disagree?
I don't think so. Because I'm trying to, like, some things I like, that's, like, part of the battle, like, trying to decide whether or not it's something that actually needs to be, like, problem solved, or, like, it really means nothing.
I mean, I guess it kind of just depends on, like, who it's coming from, where it's coming from, how habitual it is, and, like, how the situation is affecting you. Like, I don't know, are we talking about, like, other people? Like, if, like, a situation were to occur, like...
Sure.
I don't know. I think, like, in a situation like that, if, like, it's someone else is, like, doing something or saying something, like, it just depends on, like, how much I value you as a person. Like, if I really, truly don't care who you are or anything about you, like, I'm just gonna let it slide. Possibly, depending on the situation. Possibly, because, you know, sometimes you just gotta kind of, like, check people and put them in their place. But, respectfully, you know. But, like, I think sometimes if it's someone that you, like, value more or someone that you love more, then I don't think that it's not that you can't let it slide, but I think that you kind of have to, like, visit those situations a lot more often than you might have to do that if it's someone that you don't really care about. Because you also don't want to put yourself in a situation where it's someone that you're around constantly and then you're just kind of, like, allowing them to, like, do things or say things that you don't agree with or that don't make you feel comfortable, and then, you know, a month or two down the line, you're like, hey, I don't like that, and then they're like, well, I've been doing this for how long now? And you didn't say anything. You know what I mean? So I think that it just kind of, like, depends on the situation and how much you value the things or the people that are involved in it. If you should let it slide or not.
I agree. Do you have any closing remarks?
Closing remarks. Well, you know, should I hold it? Or you're gonna hold it?
I got you.
I'm Jayda, and I love me. Like, I truly do. I love Jayda. That's all you can do. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't really expect anybody else to do it for you. Like, you know what I mean? Because there's not always going to be other people there, but you're always going to be there for yourself. You're born with you. You're going to die with you. So that's, like, got to be enough for you at some point.
You're the only person that's been there for you the whole time?
Yep, whole time. You're the only person that knows what you've been through 100% from beginning to end. So, like, love you.
When addressing how the self is ingenuine, we must first start